We look at this roster and see a bright future, but this strategy is raising way more questions than answers. There is a fine line between grooming a generational talent and wasting a whole season because you are being too cautious. Is this fear of rushing things going to cost us our biggest goal? The fans want answers, and patience is running thin. If this doesn't change fast, the domino effect could be catastrophic. So hit that like button and stay until the end because this could change everything. Something is going on in Baltimore, and it just isn't making sense. I mean, look at our situation. The Las Vegas Raiders draft Fernando Mendoza, a generational talent, the guy who lit it up in Indiana with a 72% completion rate and 41 touchdowns. And what do? We sign Kirk Cousins to $20 million guaranteed, and according to Ian Rappaport, he is supposed to be the starter from start to finish this season. Klint Kubiak says this is the perfect world, that the rookie needs to sit and learn behind a mature adult. But let's be real here, the NFL world isn't perfect. It is cruel, it is fast, and it doesn't wait for anybody. Now, the elephant in the room, what happens if, in the first real practice with pads, Mendoza looks like he is a level above Cousins? What if the ball comes out faster, the reads are sharper, and the team responds better to the rookie? How would you as a fan feel about that? Mike Florio over at Pro Football Talk hit the nail on the head, and I have to agree. What is the locker room going to think about this? Imagine the scene. Maxx Crosby, the heart of this defense, the guy who plays with his hair on fire, looking out on that field and seeing the best player is not out there because of a development strategy. Brock Bowers, trying to grow in this league, catching passes from a veteran while the future is warming the bench. Is this a smart move or a mistake that could cost us dearly? Reports say the coaching staff is standing firm, but the pressure, my friend, the pressure is going to be unbearable. If the results don't come right out of the gate, if the offense doesn't click, the fans aren't going to be calling for Cousins. The fans are going to be chanting Mendoza's name. And then, how does Kubiak explain that he is holding back the team's potential because of a transition protocol that doesn't always work? Nothing is confirmed yet, but there is speculation that this sit-and-learn plan could be blown up by what happens on the practice field. If Mendoza proves he is ready, sticking to the veteran out of pure dogma might be the fastest way to lose that locker room. And that is not even the most concerning part, because we have to ask, how far does the veteran's loyalty go with a coaching staff that seems afraid to bet on the obvious? If this plan is forced at all costs, we are going to have an internal leadership problem long before week 1. So here is the question for you. Would you rather have a strategic, slow play approach or the necessary risk of putting the talent on the field right now? The answer to this dilemma could define our 2026 fate. But hold on, because what is coming next changes everything. A rebuild isn't just about signing stars. It is about saying goodbye to guys we learned to root for. And the situation in Las Vegas is getting serious when it comes to names that seemed untouchable. We are talking about Isaiah Pola-Mao and Michael Mayer. Let's start with Pola-Mao. 1,081 snaps, 92 tackles. Those numbers look impressive on paper, right? But if you look at what happened on the field, it is a different story. He allowed 582 yards and 6 touchdowns in coverage. 6. For a safety, that is a red flag. According to Silver and Black Pride, he was the last line of defense, and he failed way too many times. With Traden Stukes and Dalton Johnson coming in, plus Jeremy Chin being here, the room for error is gone. Pola-Mao is entering the last year of his contract. The front office wants young guys who will be here for 3 or 4 years, not someone who is a liability in coverage. If he doesn't show immediate improvement on special teams, his fate seems sealed. Is it tough? Yeah. But that is the NFL reality. And then there is Michael Mayer. What a situation, right? Drafted to be the complete TE, the guy who was going to dominate the middle of the field. But then Brock Bowers shows up. And Bowers isn't just any player, the guy is a force of nature who redefines the offense. Mayer basically became second in line. And here is the controversy. He is still a talent, but will Kubiak's system be able to integrate 2 high-level tight ends consistently? Reports say the front office is open to trade offers, and it wouldn't be a surprise if he was moved to a team that needs an out-and-out starter. Why keep a second-round asset just to block in specific packages if you can get value for him on the market? The fact is, the current coaching staff didn't draft. These guys, they don't have any emotional attachment. If they don't fit the scheme right now, they are out. The vibe is prove it or lose it, And honestly, if Mayer doesn't show he is more than just a backup for Bowers, we could see him waived or traded before training camp ends. Is this a smart decision to refresh the roster, or are we giving up on pieces that could be useful in the rotation? The doubt is hanging in the air, nothing official on a move yet, but the warning light is on, the competition has ramped up, and this Raiders roster is ruthless. Finally, there is a question here that is keeping me up at night and nobody seems to want to face head on. Something is off with the Raiders, and it concerns the man who needs to be lining up next to the monster, Maxx Crosby. There is speculation that our defense relies almost exclusively on Crosby's individual brilliance. And let's be honest, how long can one man carry a unit on his back without an elite partner on the other side? Malcolm Kuntz was the hope. His injury was a massive blow, and reports say doubts about him returning to his 2023 form are still hovering over the training facility. So, the front office brought in Kwity Paye, a veteran, a first-round pick with raw power, and they drafted Kieran Crawford, the kid with enough potential to be a disruptor. But the million-dollar question is, who is going to step up? If this really happens, and neither of them establishes themselves as an elite pass rusher, we are going to see the same movie all over again. The opponent doubling Crosby and leaving the rest of our defensive line free, but unable to get to the quarterback. Coordinator Rob Leonard has a huge challenge ahead. He has to decide, do you bet on Paye's experience to get immediate results, or do you hand the keys to young Crawford and wait for him to grow? If Paye doesn't produce like expected, the pressure on the interior line and the linebackers, Walker and Dean, is going to be unbearable. And we know what happens when the pressure doesn't get to the QB. The secondary suffers, the corners get exposed, and the defense falls apart in the fourth quarter. Nothing confirmed yet on what the rotation strategy will be, but time is running out. Training camp is the time to figure this out. And if by then we don't have a clear name, a guy the opponent has to respect just as much as they respect Crosby, we are heading into the season with a glaring weakness. Are we underestimating the second edge rusher problem, or will Leonard's system compensate for the lack of raw talent with scheme? The fans want security, they want to see constant pressure. Without a second big-name guy, Crosby is going to be playing against the world every Sunday, and we know that even he, with all his heart, can't win games all by himself against the league's elite. It is an unknown that needs to become a certainty in the next few weeks, or the defensive nightmare might come back to haunt us. Raiders Nation, the pieces are moving way too fast and the board honestly is getting dangerous. Between the absolute uncertainty under center with this development plan for Mendoza, the ruthless roster cleanup that could see guys we learn to value get cut, and this desperate, quiet search for an elite partner for our monster Maxx Crosby, one thing needs to be clear. We aren't going to have a minute of peace this season. The coaching staff, led by Klint Kubiak, is under a level of pressure that few coaches can handle. The veterans are being challenged, the locker room is being tested, and the future of this franchise is on the line, not in 2027, but right now, here, in the 2026 training camp. What we broke down today is just the tip of the iceberg of a rebuild that promises to be, at the very least, chaotic. You can't ignore that the decisions made in the next few weeks are going to echo throughout the stadium. If the plan with Kirk Cousins fails, if Mayer can't find his spot, or if the defensive line collapses from the lack of a second name, the bill is going to come due fast. And the question I'm asking you, Raider fan, is, do you really believe the front office has the guts to pivot if things start going south right out of the gate? Or are we seeing a strategic stubbornness that could cost us an entire season of hope? There is a very fine line between the caution of someone who wants to build something solid and the fear of someone who doesn't trust the talent they have in their hands. The Raiders fan base is fueled by blood, sweat, and, above all, results. We don't accept anything less than greatness. What you saw here today is the real scenario, unfiltered and unpolished. The vibe is do or die. Now I want to hear from you, is this Raiders strategy, balancing vets and rookies, the real path to a title, or are we heading for an unavoidable collapse that will force a total overhaul by next year? Sound off in the comments. I want to see the debate get heated, because your voices are the soul of this channel. And don't forget, leave a like and subscribe, because at any moment, this tension could blow. Until next time.